Hi everyone. You've already watched a short video about the European Union, and now I'm going to go through the following text with you so we can read through this together, okay? Remembering our roots. The origins of the Europe we know today go way, way back. To understand what Europe does for us today, it's important to know how it began. The first attempts. Some people, like Charlemagne, or Charlemagne, I don't know, I don't speak French, sorry, and Napoleon, tried to combine all the countries of Europe into a single nation. But back then, Europe was mostly formed as a result of the bloody wars. In the 20th century, two wars broke out on the continent of Europe and then spread to the whole world. That's why they are called world wars. The First World War took place between 1914 and 1918, and around 20 years later, the Second World War began. We have a fun fact here. Did you know that the name Europe comes from Greek mythology? Europa, or Europa, was a beautiful princess who lived in Tyre on the Asian coast of the Mediterranean, which is now Lebanon. Zeus, the king of the gods, fell in love with her. He seduced her and took her to Greece. They had 3 children, and it was from the princess that the continent got its name, Europe. The Second World War. After the Second World War in 1945, Europe was in ruins. Remember, we briefly looked at the First World War, and we saw that most of Europe thought that Germany was to blame, and therefore Germany was humiliated, and they basically wanted to attack Europe again, which is what started the Second World War. Well, anyway, let's continue. Because of that awful war, or that terrible war, which lasted 5 years, 20 million children were orphaned, which means that their parents died. Roads were completely destroyed, and people died of hunger and fled their countries, which means they left their countries to go to other countries to look for jobs and obviously food. It was complete devastation. Everything had to be rebuilt. And as you can see, you have a map of the world there, the bombs, and a sign saying no more war. Okay, so 2 blocks in disagreement. After 1945, peace returned to Europe, but Europe was divided into 2 blocks, Eastern Europe and Western Europe. The dividing line ran through Germany, so there was like an invisible line that went through Germany. So Germany was divided into 2 countries, East Germany and West Germany. And we also saw that the wall in Berlin was the one that represented basically the division of West and East Germany. The lives of the people on either side were very different. How did people live peacefully in the West in spite of everything? And what does this have to do with the European Union, you might ask? On the 9th of May 1950, a French statesman, Robert Schuman, had an ingenious idea. West Germany and France should work together in the coal and steel industries. That meant that they would never again think of going to war against each other. Western Europe began to rebuild itself in peace. So here we have the beginning of 2 countries working together for a common goal. It was West Germany and France, and they worked together so that they would not fight each other for the coal and the steel. Let's continue with that. The European Coal and Steel Community. Very soon, other countries got involved in the coal and steel project. Belgium, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, and Italy. On the 18th of April 1951, these 6 countries signed a text called a treaty, establishing the European Coal and Steel Community, another step towards peace. So we have 6 countries which sign a treaty. A treaty is like an agreement which stipulates that you are not going to fight against each other anymore, and it was all based on the coal and the steel industry. The European Economic Community, or the EEC. Following on or continuing from coal and steel, the 6 countries decided to set up a large market without borders. Borders are referring to like frontiers, okay? In 1957, they created the European Economic Community. Economic means that it relates to money, business, work, and trade. The economy got back on track, which means that's why you have a little train there, which when you get back on track means that everything continues to go correctly or smoothly again. And the war seemed very far away. Western Europe was at peace. So at that stage, there were no more wars. Okay, so let's have a look at the Berlin War. And it says, do you remember how after the Second World War, Europe was divided into 2 blocks that couldn't get along? That means that they were fighting. In 1961, East Germany built a wall that divided the city of Berlin into East Berlin and West Berlin. The people living there could no longer get from the east to the west. The Berlin Wall was the symbol of the Cold War, the separation between the east, the communists, and the west, the capitalists. In the east, the state owned and organized everything, farming and industrial production and the distribution of goods. In the west, the people were free. They could express themselves, set up business, travel, choose their leaders and vote. And you have a picture of a workman there that says YMCA, which is an old Village People song, which I'm sure if you ask your parents, that they know exactly the group I'm talking about. The first enlargements. Okay, remember to enlarge is to make something bigger, okay? Western Europe was growing and other countries wanted to join the original 6 members of the EEC. The EEC, remember, if we go back up, is the European Economic Community. In 1973, Denmark, Ireland, and the United Kingdom left the EU, the European Union, this year in 2020, became members. Then the enlargement towards the south of Europe started, with Greece joining in 1981, followed by Spain and Portugal in 1986. Okay, so you have a map there of the EEC becoming a little bit bigger. You can see Spain, which is it's represented by the fan, Portugal by its typical guitar, and you have other countries there, France with the baguette and the croissant, Italy with the pizza, and so on, okay? So Spain and Portugal joined in the same year. The fall of the wall. In 1989, a very important event took place at the heart of the European continent. East Europeans were reunited with West Europeans. The Berlin Wall that had separated them both physically and symbolically was gone. Thousands of Berliners tore down or broke down the wall and joined their fellow countrymen. Germany was reunified. There was a huge celebration among the people of Europe.
So geht sie zu Bruch und nichts anderes. Und nicht das Loch.
This event marked the end of communism in Germany, and over the years, many East European countries gradually or slowly joined the European Union. Again, you have a little map there of Germany. You can see the Berlin Wall, and below that you have a picture there of the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 and the people going, hooray, yippee. So now we're up to the birth of the European Union. In 1992, through the Maastricht Treaty, remember treaty is something that you sign in order to stop fighting, the European Economic Community became the European Union. The successive enlargements, which means how it finally got bigger and bigger. Between 1995 and 2013, 16 countries joined the European Union. With the departure of the United Kingdom from the European Union in 2020, there are now only 27 member states. So if you go and you look for information related to the European Union, if it's something which is not up to date, though the information will probably say that there are 28 member states. But remember, the UK just left very recently. All right. So today the European Union has almost 450 million inhabitants, which is about the same population as the United States and Japan combined. And you have a map there of the flag of the European Union, the American flag with the stars and stripes, and the Japanese flag. And you've got the burger, typical food for the Americans, and sushi. The last bit is about the symbols of the EU. Okay, so the symbols of the European Union are the flag, which is a circle on a blue background with 12 yellow stars that symbolize the unity between the people of Europe. Okay, so those stars do not represent the countries that form the European Union. Obviously, as we've studied, there are 27, there are only 12 here, so it doesn't even represent the ones that formed the EEC at the beginning. It's referring to people coming together, even though they're different, but becoming one. So it's the unity, all right? The anthem, which is what in Spanish is el himno, it's a song which represents a country or a group of people, is the Ninth Symphony by German composer Ludwig van Beethoven. You have a link there, and if you click on it, you'll hear the Ninth Symphony, and you will recognize it because you've heard it quite a few times. The motto, which is like the expression that represents the European Union, is united in diversity. Again, we're referring to the different countries. Everybody's different, different cultures, different languages, but we are all united, even though we are different or diverse. And Europe Day, which is the 9th of May. So next month, on the 9th of May, you'll all be hearing, or you should be hearing on the news or on television, that it's Europe Day, which is basically the day which symbolises the European Union.